I always thought loyalty was the foundation of our family. That no matter how tough things got, we'd stick together, especially when it came to the family business. My name is Alex, and for as long as I can remember, my life revolved around my dad's auto repair shop. I grew up in that place, the smell of oil and rubber practically woven into my skin. While other kids spent their summers at the lake, I was under the hood of a car, learning how to fix a busted transmission or balance the books. My younger brother, Tyler, was different. He was the golden child. Everyone knew it, even if no one said it out loud. Mom always called him her baby, even when he was taller than her. Dad would shake his head and laugh when Tyler skipped out on chores, saying, "He's just a kid, Alex. Let him have some fun." Meanwhile, I was the one who stayed late, who learned how to talk to angry customers, who figured out how to keep the lights on when business was slow. I never complained. Not really. I figured one day all this work would mean something. Dad always said, "This shop will be yours and your brother's someday." I believed him. I wanted to believe him. When Dad got sick a few years ago, everything changed. Tyler was off at college, finding himself, as Mom liked to say. I was the one who took over. I ran the shop, paid the bills, made sure Dad could rest. There were nights I'd come home so tired I could barely eat dinner, but I kept going. I had to. And then, almost like a reward for all those years of grinding, things started to turn around. The shop got a reputation for honest work. We started getting more customers than we could handle. I hired 2 new guys, expanded our services, even built a website. For the first time, we were making real money. I remember showing Dad the numbers, the pride in his eyes. "You did good, son," he said, his voice rough with emotion. I thought, finally, I'd made him proud. I should have known better. One night, I came home late. Tyler's car was in the driveway, which was weird. He hadn't been around much since he graduated. Inside, Mom and Dad were sitting at the kitchen table, papers spread out in front of them. Tyler was there too, looking way too comfortable for someone who hadn't lifted a finger in the shop for years. "Alex, honey, can you sit down for a minute?" Mom's voice was soft, almost apologetic. My stomach twisted. I sat. Dad cleared his throat. "We've been talking, son. The business is doing well, and we want to make things official. Tyler's back now, and we think it's time to put both your names on the paperwork." I tried to keep my voice steady. "That makes sense. We always said it'd be both of us." Tyler leaned back in his chair, a little smirk on his face. "Yeah, but Dad and Mom think I should have a bigger share. I mean, I have a business degree now. I can help take things to the next level." I stared at him, then at my parents. A bigger share? I've been running the shop for years. I kept it alive when no one else would. Mom reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Alex, honey, Tyler has new ideas. He can help us grow. You're both important, but we think this is what's best for the family." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. All those years, all those sacrifices, and now, when things were finally good, they were handing it all to Tyler. I wanted to scream, to throw something, but all I could do was sit there, numb, as they slid the papers across the table. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Tyler's smirk and Dad's disappointed frown. I replayed the conversation in my head, over and over, searching for something I could have said to make them see reason. But the truth was, I'd been fighting a losing battle for years. Maybe I just hadn't wanted to admit it. The next morning, I woke up before dawn, as usual. The house was silent, the only sound the hum of the refrigerator and the distant ticking of the old wall clock in the hallway. I made myself a cup of coffee, hands shaking, and sat at the kitchen table staring at the cold, gray light creeping in through the window. The papers were still there, right where I'd left them. I didn't touch them. I thought about calling my friend Mike, the only person outside my family who really knew what was going on. But it was too early, and besides, what would I even say? "Hey, remember how I spent my whole life working for my family?" Turns out I was just keeping the seat warm for my brother. Instead, I went to the shop. The air was crisp, the sky streaked with pink and gold. I unlocked the door, flicked on the lights, and just stood there for a moment, taking it all in. The rows of tools, the half-finished projects, the smell of rubber and gasoline, it was all so familiar, So much a part of me that I couldn't imagine life without it. I started working, losing myself in the rhythm of the day. Oil changes, brake jobs, a transmission rebuilt. The regulars came in, old Mr. Jenkins with his battered pickup, Maria with her minivan and her two noisy kids. They all greeted me by name, asked about my dad, brought me coffee and donuts. For a few hours, I almost forgot about the night before. But then Tyler showed up, dressed in a crisp button-down and slacks, looking like he'd just stepped out of a business school brochure. He walked around the shop like he owned the place, making notes on his phone, asking questions about efficiency and profit margins. He didn't even know how to check the oil, but he talked like he was the expert. At lunch, he cornered me in the office. "We need to talk about the website," he said, tapping his phone. "It's outdated. I've got a friend who can redesign it, but it'll cost a bit. Also, I think we should start offering detailing services. Higher margins, less labor." I stared at him. "You've been here 5 minutes and you're already making changes?" He shrugged. "Dad wants me involved. I'm just doing my part." I clenched my jaw, trying to keep my temper in check. "Your part? Where were you when Dad was in the hospital? When I was working 12-hour days just to keep the lights on?" He looked away, suddenly interested in a spot on the wall. "I was at school. You know that?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "I know." He left without another word, and I sat there, staring at the empty doorway, feeling more alone than ever. That night, I tried to talk to my parents again. I found them in the living room, watching TV, the glow of the screen flickering across their tired faces. "Can we talk?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Dad muted the TV. "What is it, Alex?" I took a deep breath. "I can't do this. I can't just hand over everything I've worked for. I've given everything to this business, to this family. Doesn't that count for anything?" Mom looked at me, her eyes soft but sad. "Of course it does, honey. But Tyler's your brother. He deserves a chance too." "A chance?" I laughed, bitter and sharp. "He's getting more than a chance. He's getting everything. And I'm just supposed to step aside?" Dad's face hardened. "Don't make this harder than it has to be. We're a family. We stick together." I shook my head, tears stinging my eyes. "No, we don't. Not when it matters." I left the room before they could see me cry. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around me. I thought about all the times I'd put my family first, all the sacrifices I'd made. I thought about the future, about what it would mean to stay, to keep fighting for a place in a family that didn't want me. And for the first time, I wondered what it would be like to walk away. The next few days blurred together, each one heavier than the last. I went through the motions at the shop, but everything felt different. Tyler was there every morning now, always dressed too neatly, always with a new idea or plan. He started holding meetings with Dad in the office. The door closed, their voices low and serious. Sometimes I'd catch snippets: expansion, franchise, investors, words that sounded impressive but hollow, like they belonged to someone else's life. I tried to keep my head down, to focus on the work. But the regulars noticed. Mr. Jenkins asked if I was feeling all right. Maria brought me an extra coffee, her eyes full of concern. Even the new guys, Pete and Sam, started whispering when they thought I wasn't listening. One afternoon, I found Tyler in the garage, talking to a stranger in a suit. They were looking over the equipment, Tyler gesturing animatedly. I wiped my hands on a rag and walked over. "Who's this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Tyler barely glanced at me. "This is Mark. He's a consultant. Dad and I are thinking about upgrading some of the equipment, maybe automating a few things." I stared at him. "We can't afford that. Not right now." Tyler smiled, that same smug grin I'd seen 100 times growing up. "That's the point, Alex. We can't afford not to. If we want to compete, we have to modernize." Mark nodded, making notes on his clipboard. "You've got a solid operation here, but there's a lot of untapped potential. With the right investment, you could double your output." I felt my blood pressure rising. "And who's going to pay for all this? We just got out of debt." Tyler shrugged. "We'll figure it out. That's what I'm here for. I wanted to scream. Instead, I turned and walked away, the sound of their voices echoing in my ears. That night, I called Mike. I needed to talk to someone who wasn't family, someone who'd actually listen. He picked up on the second ring. Hey man, you okay? I hesitated, then let it all spill out, the meeting, the consultant, the feeling of being pushed out of my own life. Mike listened, silent except for the occasional grunt of sympathy. When I finished, he sighed. Alex, you know I've got your back. But you can't keep letting them walk all over you. You built that place. Don't let them take it from you. I rubbed my eyes, exhaustion settling deep in my bones. What am I supposed to do? If I fight, I'm the bad guy. If I walk away, I lose everything. Mike was quiet for a moment. Maybe it's not about winning or losing. Maybe it's about what you can live with. His words stuck with me long after we hung up. The next morning, I found a note on my toolbox. Tyler's handwriting, neat and precise. Meeting at 10 a.m. Don't be late. I almost crumpled it up, but something made me go. In the office, Dad, Mom, and Tyler were waiting. The consultant was there too, flipping through a stack of papers. Dad cleared his throat. Alex, we've made a decision. We're moving forward with the upgrades. Tyler will be handling the finances and operations from now on. You'll still have a place here, but things are changing. I stared at them, the words not sinking in. You're replacing me? Mom shook her head, tears in her eyes. No, honey. We need to give Tyler a chance. Tyler didn't even look at me. I felt something inside me break. All those years, all that work, and now I was being sidelined in my own family, my own business. I stood up, my hands shaking. If that's how it is, then I'm done. I won't fight you. But I won't stay and watch you ruin everything either. I walked out, the door slamming behind me, the sound echoing through the shop like a gunshot. That night, I packed a bag. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay. I drove for hours that night, the city lights fading behind me as I headed out onto the open highway. I didn't have a plan, just a duffel bag, my old leather jacket, and a phone that kept buzzing with missed calls from Mom. I ignored them all. For the first time in years, I let myself feel everything. The anger, the betrayal, the bone-deep exhaustion. I rolled down the window and let the cold air sting my face, hoping it would clear my head. I ended up at a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind with flickering neon signs and threadbare carpets. I paid in cash, barely looking at the clerk, and collapsed onto the lumpy bed. The silence was deafening. I stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the last week, every word, every look. I wondered if I'd made a mistake. Maybe I should have fought harder. Maybe I should have just signed the papers and kept my head down. But deep down, I knew I couldn't. Not anymore. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through the thin curtains. My phone was still buzzing, texts from Mom, a couple from Dad, even one from Tyler. You're overreacting. Come back and let's talk. I deleted it without replying. I spent the day wandering the town, trying to clear my head. I found a little diner and ordered coffee, the waitress giving me a sympathetic smile when she saw the bags under my eyes. I sat there for hours, nursing my drink, watching the world go by. For the first time in a long time, I felt invisible. It was strangely comforting. That afternoon, Mike called. I almost didn't answer, but something in me needed to hear a friendly voice. Hey man, he said, his tone gentle. You all right? I hesitated. I don't know. I left. I couldn't stay. He was quiet for a moment. You did the right thing, Alex. You can't keep giving and giving until there's nothing left. I stared out the window, watching a couple walk by, laughing, arms linked. It just hurts, you know? I thought if I worked hard enough, if I proved myself, they'd finally see me. But I was just convenient. Mike sighed. You're more than what they made you do. You always have been. We talked for a while about nothing and everything. When I hung up, I felt a little lighter. That evening, I drove back to the shop. I don't know what I was expecting, maybe some grand gesture, maybe an apology. Instead, I found Tyler in the office, feet up on the desk, talking loudly on the phone about projections, and growth. He didn't even notice me at first. When he finally looked up, he frowned. "You're back." I nodded, keeping my voice steady. "I came to get my things." He shrugged, barely looking at me. "Do what you want." I packed up my tools, my old work shirts, the photo of me and Dad from the day we opened the new wing. I paused, looking around the shop one last time. It didn't feel like home anymore. As I was leaving, Dad came out from the back. He looked tired, older than I remembered. "Alex," he said, his voice rough. "You don't have to do this." I shook my head. "I do it. I can't stay where I'm not wanted." He looked away, shame flickering across his face. "We never meant to hurt you." I forced a smile. "I know. But you did." I walked out, the door closing softly behind me. That night, I drove to Mike's place. He let me crash on his couch, no questions asked. We stayed up late, drinking cheap beer and watching old movies. For the first time in weeks, I laughed. But even as I tried to relax, a part of me was still back at the shop, still hoping for something, an apology, a change of heart, a sign that I mattered. But I knew better. Some things don't change, no matter how much you want them to. The days blurred together after that. I stayed at Mike's place, helping him out with odd jobs around his garage, trying to keep my hands busy and my mind off everything I'd left behind. Mike's shop was smaller, messier, but it had a warmth my family's business had lost long ago. He let me take the lead on a couple of tricky repairs, and for the first time in weeks, I felt useful again. At night, I'd lie awake on his lumpy couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying old memories. I remembered being a kid, watching Dad work late into the night, the two of us sharing greasy burgers and sodas in the break room. Back then, the shop felt like a second home, a place where I belonged. I wondered when that changed. Maybe it was gradual, 1,000 small slights and disappointments piling up until I couldn't see the good anymore. One afternoon, as I was finishing up a break job, Mike came over, wiping his hands on a rag. "You ever think about starting over?" he asked, his tone casual but his eyes serious. I shrugged. "I don't even know where to begin. The shop was my whole life. I don't have anything else." He nodded. "You've got skills, Alex. You could open your own place. Or do something completely different. You're not stuck." I wanted to believe him, but the fear was still there, gnawing at me. What if I failed? What if I was nothing without the family business? That night, I got a call from Mom. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me pick up. Her voice was shaky. "Alex, honey, can you come home? Just for dinner. We want to talk." I hesitated, but agreed. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I just wanted to see if anything had changed. When I arrived, the house felt different, quieter, smaller. Mom had made my favorite meal, pot roast with mashed potatoes, just like when I was a kid. Dad sat at the head of the table, looking tired and worn. Tyler was there too, scrolling through his phone, barely acknowledging me. We ate in silence for a while, the clink of silverware the only sound. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. "Alex, we made a mistake," he said, his voice rough. "We shouldn't have pushed you out. The shop isn't the same without you." I looked at him, searching for sincerity. "So what now? You want me to come back and clean up the mess?" Tyler finally looked up, his eyes hard. "We need you, Alex. The new systems aren't working. Customers are complaining. The guys are talking about quitting." I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. Part of me wanted to say yes, to go back and fix everything. But another part of me knew I couldn't. Not after everything that had happened. Mom reached for my hand. "We're sorry, honey. We took you for granted." I pulled my hand away gently. "I can't come back. Not like this. I need to do something for myself for once." Dad nodded, his shoulders slumping. "I understand. I just hope you know we love you." I stood up, my heart pounding. "I love you too. But I have to move on." I left the house, the cool night air filling my lungs. For the first time, I felt free. Back at Mike's, I started making plans. I researched small business loans, looked at empty garages for rent, even sketched out a logo for my own shop. It was scary starting over. But it was also exhilarating. One evening as I was locking up Mike's shop, he clapped me on the back. "You're going to be fine, Alex. Better than fine." I smiled, really smiled, for the first time in a long while. "Yeah, I think I will be." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. I threw myself into planning my own shop, poring over spreadsheets, talking to local landlords, and meeting with a small business advisor Mike recommended. Every step was terrifying: signing a lease, applying for a loan, ordering equipment with money I'd never seen in my account before. But every step was also mine. For the first time, I was building something for myself, not for someone else's approval. Mike helped me paint the walls of the new place, a cramped but sunny garage on the edge of town. We scrubbed the floors, set up the lifts, and hung up a battered old sign I'd salvaged from Dad's shop. I called it Second Chance Auto. It felt right. The first week, I had only a handful of customers, mostly friends of Mike's, a couple of old regulars who'd heard I was back in business. But word spread quickly. People remembered me, remembered the way I treated them, the honesty and care I put into every job. Soon, I was working 12-hour days again, but this time, I didn't mind. Every car I fixed, every handshake, every satisfied smile, it all belonged to me. Sometimes, late at night, I'd sit in the office with a cup of coffee, looking out at the empty shop floor. I'd think about my family, about the years I'd given them, about the pain and the lessons. I missed them in a way. I missed the idea of what we could have been. But I didn't miss the way they made me feel: small, invisible, replaceable. One evening as I was closing up, Tyler showed up. He looked different, tired, less sure of himself. He stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, eyes on the floor. "Hey," he said quietly. I nodded. "Hey." He shuffled his feet. "The shop's not doing great. Dad's thinking about selling." I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I studied him for a moment, searching for the old arrogance, but it was gone. All I saw was my little brother, lost and scared. "I appreciate that," I said. "I really do." He looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. "Maybe we could work together again. Start over." I shook my head, gentle but firm. "I can't go back, Ty. But if you ever need advice, or just want to talk, I'm here." He nodded, swallowing hard. "Thanks, Alex." After he left, I sat in the quiet for a long time, letting the weight of it all settle. I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. I was just free. A few months later, I got a letter from my parents. No demands, no guilt trips, just a simple note saying they were proud of me, that they hoped I was happy. I wrote back telling them I was. Business picked up. I hired a couple of guys, Pete and Sam, who'd left Dad's shop after things went south. We built something real, something honest. The community supported us, and I supported them right back. Looking back, I don't regret a thing. I learned the hard way that family isn't just about blood or tradition. It's about respect, about seeing each other for who we really are. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from what's breaking you, even if it means starting over from nothing. If you're listening to this and you feel like you're always the one giving, always the one left behind, know this: you deserve better. You deserve to be seen, to be valued, to build something that's yours. Sometimes, the best thing you can do for your family, and for yourself, is to finally put yourself first. That's what I did. And for the first time in my life, I'm not just surviving. I'm living. If you've ever been in a situation like mine, or if this story made you think about your own family in a new way, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts or your own experiences in the comments below. How would you have handled things? Do you think I made the right choice? Let's talk about it. Sometimes, sharing your story is the first step to healing.